record to the client. Oh boy. Honestly, legally, they probably do that for disclosure reasons. Because when you're on a Zoom, it's not considered a public space. This takes me back to my media law days. If you are in a public space, you can do all the recording you want. Yeah. It's one of those things that a lot of politicians find out the hard way, that if they are in a public forum and they give a speech, they think that they own the audio to that speech. You may own the written version of that speech, but you certainly don't own the audio. In fact, there's been years and years of case law over and over again brought up from the estate of Martin Luther King Jr. because he was at, the I Have a Dream speech that he gave in Washington, D.C. And the feds are so afraid to legally thump the estate of Martin Luther King Jr. because they don't own that audio, and they keep trying to sue for IP infringement when people use that audio. And there's been a couple instances that are unconstitutional where it's been upheld. Never mind that it was a public forum. Anyways, y'all didn't need that. Y'all came here for real estate talk, not media law. But yeah, it's important for us as realtors, though. Yeah. If you're ever filming in a public space and somebody complains that they're on your camera, in North Carolina, you do not need a waiver to have those people in the background of your videos. Okay. It is considered the risk you take when you are in public. Yeah. It's different if you're on federal grounds. So let's say you're in front of the courthouse, you're on the courthouse grounds. Mm-hmm. That's not necessarily considered a public space, but yeah, if you're just downtown or you're in front of a church or you're in a field somewhere, it's all public space. Interesting. Yeah, you don't own your image. Now, it's different in states like California, Florida, New York. Those are different. I don't know why you'd be down there filming, but but that's primarily for paparazzi. It's protections for the rich and famous. The oligarchs live by their own rules. So do either of you have access to the MLS?
Yes.
Great. Are you logged into the MLS?
Yes.
Fabulous. I'm Robert Joins. It's nice to have you here. Thank you for being here. I'm your Market Center Tech Trainer. I am also one of your ALC members. And let's see, what else? I like going to the beach, pina coladas, trips with my family, that sort of thing. I'm a Cancer, for whoever cares about that.
When's your birthday?
June 28th.
No, just July 7th.
July 7th.
I just read an article that they changed everyone's astrological sign.
Yeah, they're they're trying to add another one.
Well, I dated a bunch of fruity women back in college, and I remember them telling me that you had a sun sign and a moon sign. Yeah.
I don't really know them.
Okay.
My mom is one of those. So I know from her talking about it, but I don't know. I'm not one of those.
And Andrew and Susan, good morning. I know that you're there because I saw that you joined.
Good morning.
Thank you. And Susan, I am recording this. So our funny little talk about astrology will be in the recording as well, but it will be there to reference later. At home, if you're just going to watch the screen, then follow along as best as you can. Otherwise, I would encourage you to log into the MLS so we can kind of do some stuff together. This class is not going to take an enormous amount of time. It's not going to take the 2 hours that are allotted on the schedule. You'll find that I don't want to be here for 2 hours, and I know you don't want to either. That does not mean, though, if you have good questions and you want things that I need to cover, I will absolutely do that. My time is your time. Today, we're going to be covering the MLS best practices. So this is going to show you all how to do a couple of little quick searches. You will be able to set up a search and save it, set up what we call a Client Connect site for your clients to sort and save favorite properties. And then we will also do a little bit of a CMA, quick CMA. Anything on top of that is just gravy, right? Okay, if there's no questions to begin with, I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right, so first and foremost, you should kind of get to know the front page here. How many of you have actually used the MLS, been on a showing that you scheduled through the MLS, or tried to save a search for a client? Okay, so what have you done?
Pretty much all of that. I have,
Great.
A couple of searches set up. I can see who's looking at it.
Excellent.
I've done a bunch of CMAs.
So typically you can see over here, for those of you who haven't been before, you have a contact activity for your saved searches. So here are a couple of my clients. Andrea Gochenauer, she has viewed her site 20 times in the last 7 days. And you can, of course, change the date, the number of days that you're looking back. William Brinson has visited the site once. Joanne Lee has visited it 3 times, and Avilio Sosa has been to his site 16 times in the last 7 days. So you can tell who my most active buyers are right now. Andrea and Avilio, both of them are investors, both of them are out of town. So showing them properties, I'm glad that this actually came up. I show them virtually. So either they can do a Zoom call to see it live, or actually what I do for the most part is I go do a showing where I show the good and the bad on my phone, and then I send that video to them via Google Drive. Most people have a Google account, or most people know how to access Google Drive. It's the easiest way to send files. You know, I know there's like Dropbox and a million other like iCloud stuff that you can do. I find that Google Drive is just, you get a Google Drive from being a KW agent. We're a G Suite based email. So it's very, very, very easy. And it creates a public link that you can send to people versus needing to make an account and needing to sign in and all that hoopla. Google Drive links can also be used to host your virtual tours for the MLS. So when you have a listing, there's a virtual tour option and you need a public link. YouTube does not work. They will not take YouTube, but a Google Drive link, a shareable Google Drive link will work for that, okay? MLS has lots of great little updates and little videos about the market. Pay attention to those. Those are good things to check from time to time. Quick little overview. From our search bar, you can search by different classes. Most of us will be using the residential option. Some of us may use commercial, but most commercial real estate is not listed in TMLS. They have their own MLS systems and they're national systems. If you're looking for land, you will need to look for a land search specifically. That being said, if I ever have a listing that's a large piece of land with a house on it, I may list it twice. I may have it in the MLS twice, once as a residential, once as a land listing. For instance, if I have, I did this with my grandfather. We had a deal recently where we had a 100-year-old home. So yes, technically the property had a home on it, but for whoever bought the land, they're probably going to bulldoze the house. And that was a perfect example of like, yes, it's listed as residential, but understand the house is being sold as is, right? Yes, you could save it if you wanted, but for the most part, you're selling it as land. So if you have a client who's looking, I want to buy a lot, and do that. Another thing to consider about land, just on another topic, if you have a client who says, I want to buy land and build on it, make sure that they know that they need at least 25 to 30% down to buy land, because banks don't want to own land. And then if they're trying to go get a loan to build a house as well, that's a secondary loan unless they find someone who can couple it together. Building on a vacant piece of land is much more complicated than a lot of people think, unless you have cash. If you've got a couple $100,000 of cash, you can do whatever you want. You can go buy the land outright. You can pay for the materials or put down the money with a builder's loan of some kind to build a house. There are options for that, but it's a little more complicated. Okay, so for the purposes of today, we also have a quick search on the left-hand side of the screen, which is just fantastic. If a client has sent you an MLS number, or they have sent you an address, more likely they've sent you an address. The number one thing I see is clients sending me Zillow or Redfin addresses and saying, is this active? Is it available? Right, so let's just punch in my house address. So let's say they're like, hey, Robert, I saw, 9108 Deerland Grove. Is this house available? Well,
question.
Sure.
So the other day I was doing like the mock training with Kim, and I was looking at the address to do like the training thing, like the dot loop, whatever. Yeah. And I use power search usually because I think it's faster to like find what like a specific address. Is there a reason why you would use the quick search versus power search at the top?
Power search.
It's at the very top. It's like a little tiny bar, and she didn't know about it. She's like, what is this? I was like, I just type in the address. I don't know if you know if there's a difference.
I don't know much of a difference. Let's just take a see.
This is what I normally use, but she was like, I didn't even know that was up there. I was like, am I not supposed to use this?
No, I don't. There's no reason why you can't. The thing is that there may be parameters. So let me tell you why you may want to still use the quick search. It just depends. So let's say they've given you the address and it's wrong.
Okay.
So if they say, oh, it's 9108 Deerland Grove, you punch in Deerland Grove and nothing comes up. Well, there could be a space between deer and land. It could be a different number, and the power search is not going to help you suss that out. So what you could do, if they said it's 9108 Deerland Grove, but it's not actually 9108 Deerland Grove, down here you could change it from 9108 to just Deerland Grove and status, active or contingent. or you could even do all active, right? That would show you all those things. But since this is closed, I'd type in closed and notice that's how many things have closed on Deerland Grove. But if you were looking for something that was active or pending, that's what you would use. You do all active, and then that would show you if there was anything active that's active, contingent, pending for Deerland Grove. Obviously, for Deerland Grove, where I live, there's nothing active right now. All right. Okay. So I'm going to go back. So client tells me that we're going to go look for Deerland Grove, 918 Deerland Grove. And what do you know it? House is closed. Closed back on September 16th. There it is. So I can tell my client, hey, sorry, it's already closed, or it's already contingent, or it's something, but there it is. Let's pretend that this is active for some reason. So the next thing I want to do, or maybe they want to, here's what we'll do. We'll set up a search first. Let's say we have a client who says, okay, well, it's not active, it's already closed, but I really like this neighborhood. I'd like to be in this area. Could you help me know when something new is going to pop up? Well, the way that we're going to do that is, first of all, we're going to identify where this house actually is. So it's in Hunter's Knoll subdivision. And over here in the MLS, there's a couple little buttons I want to direct your attention to. This H here stands for history. It shows you the property history, the entire property's history, for as long as it's been owned, as long as it's been input in the MLS. If somebody sold this house in 1999 through the MLS, it will be in here. This house is unique because it had a single owner, built in 1994, owned for 27 years, only in the MLS once, bought by yours truly, okay? So it hit the market in June, sat on the market for a long time. We got it under contract on August 2nd, and it was closed on September 16th, okay? So there's the history option. Another thing that you can do here is the mapping tool, which is another important tool for us to pay attention to. This will give me an idea of where in town this property is. Now, the mapping tool is very powerful because there may be other things that could rule out a property for you. So for instance, if you've sent me a property, Robert, what are your thoughts about this property? You know, I have clients all the time say, what am I not seeing here? I like this house, what am I not seeing here? Well, something that a client may not see, and let's go up the road a little bit. Let's say you have a client that sends you a property on Grassington Way. Now you need to know how to read maps to know what this is, but do either of you have a guess what this little slotted line here means?
Power lines, like utility.
It's a good guess. It's a good guess. It's kind of hard to tell because it's not super reinforced. I'm going to change my view here. So where it says road, if you click the drop down and choose
Highway.
aerial, worse, it's a railroad.
Ooh,
Again, this isn't behind my house,
yeah.
but if somebody sends you a house here, a townhome, that could be a deal breaker for them. And here's the deal. We should definitely show properties that back up to railroads, but if you know it's a big bugaboo for your clients, why waste the time driving there and showing the house if you know you could rule it out? So.
Progress.
Okay. Anything else that may rule this property out? And again, it's not that you're trying to be rude, you're just trying to be efficient. Like why waste everyone's time if there's a burst effect like that? Now here, your client may not care. They may not care that a train's going to go by at 3 a.m. I've lived by plenty of trains in my life, and you just kind of, tune it out. The problem is that it is a problem for a lot of people. In the same way you said a high intensity power line. Power lines can't do anything about those.
Yeah, but like a utility easement, it's like right there.
Yep. So another thing to consider here is you see this little option here, these little layered blocks. If you click on this, there's other things that you can add to the map to help identify. You could add the city or the county, which I suppose is helpful if you're, out in the middle of nowhere and you're trying to figure out what county this house actually is in. But the most important one, in my opinion, is the floodplain. If you choose the floodplain and you zoom out, do you see how the waterways have now expanded significantly? These blue and orange areas are the floodplain, and you'll notice.
I was gonna say, do you want to use my house, for example? It was actually on the map. And I'm very curious about my floodplain too.
Sure, we'll just go back to the quick search. So you tell me.
9705.
9705.
Precious Stone Drive. It's funny because I actually saw this up there.
That's not right. Okay, this one, no, this one here. There we go. Okay, Precious Stone Drive. Okay, we're going to pull up our little map. Oh yeah, that may back off. All right, so here we go. We're going to turn on the floodplain. Oh yeah, your house is in the floodplain.
Okay.
We're
When we bought it, it wasn't, so we didn't have to buy flood insurance or anything.
well. It's good that you.
Have you bought it now?
Bought it now. We bought it 7 years ago.
So
No, the floodplain.
Oh, no,
insurance.
we don't have it.
Okay,
so, it's great that you're not paying for it now,
Mhm.
but when you go to sell,
Mhm.
you might have to. Does your yard slope down?
Yes.
So your house is up.
Yes.
So what you need, and I'm so glad we talked about this, is you need a flood elevation certificate.
yeah.
It's worth the money to pay a surveyor to give it to you, because when you go to sell,
Mhm.
no buyer in the world is going to
No
want
buyer.
flood insurance, right?
I had a buyer that didn't want to buy a house because they didn't have their certificate, and he's like, I'm not paying however much money, like $700, I think was the quote.
Yeah, and surveyors, so here's the deal, surveyors are backed up for months. If you have the money laying around to do it, do it. If you don't, just know that it's something you'll need to do before you sell.
Okay.
Because if you're up, your house should be up out of the floodplain,
Yeah.
if it is elevated above the low area. But you have to have a surveyor say, yes, though the lot is in the floodplain, the home is above that.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is an estimate anyways, these are close. So I'm very glad you brought this up. So this is a tool. So like if you were showing a house in this neighborhood and your clients were interested, you would want to advise them that because some of these houses, it's like, I don't know, it's really close.
We've only had it hasn't come to my yard, but like when they release the dam, like the falls dam,
Mhm.
the water comes up pretty close, and you have like ducks like right next to my fence.
Yep. So elevation certificate, you'll definitely need that but I would not go rush to tell your homeowner's insurance
Yeah.
guy,
No.
because they would look at it and say, oh, you're in the floodplain. And
Yeah.
they may make you start paying for flood insurance. As long as you are certain that you're not concerned about it actually washing your house away, then you would want to pay
Yeah.
for flood
No, I'm not
insurance.
concerned. We haven't had issues.
Good. Okay, well, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a very good question. So you see what I mean? That simple little mapping tool is very, very, very powerful. It's very, very helpful. Obviously, the D stands for documents. So this would show us where property disclosures, mineral rights disclosure, potential floor plans would be saved. This is an older listing, so it may not have anything in there. It also doesn't mean that the seller has disclosed anything. But I typically, if I have a client who's like, well, why hasn't this house sold? Or is there anything I need to know about this property? I'll go download the disclosure and review it myself and send it to them. We're going to have it to sign it anyways if we make an offer on the property. Okay. All right. And then you've got some other, you can do a Google Street View, and then we have some other CRS Property Report. That's a quick property report. Think of it in the same way you would like Redfin or Zillow. It's more detailed than that. I'm not super satisfied with the estimates that it provides, but it gives you a couple to choose from. It's just, it makes you a quick little property report. It's pretty handy. Okay. All right. While we're looking at an MLS sheet, it doesn't hurt for me to kind of go over some of the important pertinent data that you might want to look at, because it is going to come up. Obviously, we have the remarks, and here's a rule of thumb when you're making a listing, or even if you're showing your clients a piece of property, anything written in the agent only remarks, you need to be disclosing to your clients, because if you don't, you're hiding it from them. Quite frankly, I don't know why we have them at all. I mean, I guess it's because of the syndication. Your public remarks go out to the Zillows, the Redfins, the Trulias, and the agent only remarks are just for our MLS members. But if there's something explicitly stated in the agent remarks, you must share that with your client. Like if something conveys or doesn't convey, we have to talk about that. Directions are dumb. I don't know why we still include them in the MLS. Everybody's got a GPS. Nobody is using the MLS sheet to find the property. All right. Under measurements and rooms, some important things to note. Acreage is a good thing to follow. Lot dimensions, ignore that. It's like looking at the matrix. Most people don't know what they're looking at there. Living area, above grade and below grade. Y'all should, from your real estate classes, understand what is below grade. But keep in mind, as long as like 8 inches of the structure is below soil, that's below grade. So you can have homes that don't look like they have a basement, but if enough of it has dirt against one wall, it will be considered below grade, which sucks because it's less valuable square footage. Do either of you know how we count below grade square footage, like finished below grade square footage?
Forget it off the top.
It's okay. Guys, it's totally fine. I know experienced agents who don't know how to do it. I've had experienced agents value it at full price, and it's like, are you kidding me? It's at half. It used to be about a third, but half is safe. Half values is a safe estimation, as long as it's finished. If it's unfinished, then that's half or a third or quarter.
What if it's finished and not permitted?
Oh, that's a good question. If it's unpermitted, then you can't count it.
Okay.
Yeah, unpermitted space is not going to be counted by an appraiser, which is a problem. So that's a good question, because here's the thing. In North Raleigh, what everybody loved to do for a while was to finish out their walk-up attic, but none of them pulled any permits, and many of them did it themselves. And you'll walk into it and be like, wow, this could be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Some of them were done very well, but then there's also ones that look good, but were done very poorly. I had a listing like that where my clients had finished out a space over their master bedroom, and their plumber, in making a bathroom up there, thought it was an okay idea to run the drain line right through the beams, the support beams for the house, just bored holes through it and ran the pipe through it. Not great. That had to be fixed in a big way. And what's so funny is that if our clients had 15 years ago, when they did the work, pulled the permit and paid someone who knew what they were doing, they just hired some guy who said he could do it, right? Not a licensed bonded general contractor, just somebody who had handyman skills. It cost them like 10 to 15 grand to fix it.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Anyways, infuriating. What it would have cost them extra at the time, maybe $1,000. What it costs them now, it's like shooting yourself in the foot. Really ate into the profits of them selling that house. Okay, but we do have our square footage there. Quick references: bedrooms 321. Note that for any measurements that we have for the property, it will tell you what story a bedroom is on, assuming that the agent actually filled out the information appropriately. This is important because if you have a client who needs single-story living, or at least needs a master bedroom on the first floor, you can find it right here. Like this house here has a master bedroom on the second floor. For somebody who is 60 plus, this may be a problem for them. I know plenty of 70-year-olds who still go up and down stairs just fine. But it's something that we should always bring to attention. I mean, I've known people in their 40s who are like, yep, I want to move to single-story living. They're super pragmatic, right?
My mom put her, like, at least her master on the first floor.
Yeah. It's smart.
Like, if I ever need to move down here.
It's what I call future proofing.
Yeah.
If it's a house that you know you want to live in forever, go ahead and make the decisions now that you could live in it forever.
Yeah.
But if your master bedroom's up on the second floor and you're 85 years old, unless you want to get a chairlift, I've helped a lot of seniors install chairlifts in their houses. And that seems fine and dandy until it stops working, power goes out, or they also move at a snail's pace. So, do you really want to sit there for the 3 minutes it takes to get up and down the stairs? All right. A couple other quick reference things. These are things you'll need when you're writing an offer. Here is the legal description for the property. That's a great way to identify it. It's very easy to read. When we're filling out an offer to purchase, there's a section for lot number. Well, lot number is LO 53. So lot number is 53. If you're looking for subdivision, Sharon Farms, right there, subdivision, Sharon Farms subdivision. And then BM stands for Book of Maps. So Book of Maps 2003, page 02210. So if you need to go pull it up in the public record, there's all that information there. All right. I think y'all can figure out pretty much otherwise how to read these documents. This is hyper important. Make sure you're coming down here and verifying.
HOA fees are also important.
They are right here.
'Cause they're factored
And
in.
yes, and you'll want to explain to your client, if it's quarterly and annually, you need to break that down for them, what that means in a monthly cost. Because there's plenty of HOAs that have 2 HOA fees. And they need to understand the difference between them. Now, the one thing I will say that's never satisfied me is when the HOA fees include, because it's never as detailed as it should be, and it could also disclose things, or it could claim things that aren't true. I've had townhome communities where they claimed that the roof was covered by the HOA, and it was not. There is such a thing as townhome communities where roof is not covered. So yes, that is exactly what it sounds like. You have a patchwork of different roofs over top of shared roofs. Dumb. I don't know why anyone would, like, if you're taking HOA fees, go ahead and just set the money aside and plan to replace the roof. But it's important for us sometimes to pour over those covenants. All right. Good. But verify your commission, what you're set to make. And also, when you're making an offer, print a version of this so that you have it on file. Print a PDF of this so that if you ever have an agent who comes back and plays silly buggers and changes what the commission percentage is, you can say, no. This is what you advertise, 2.4%, not 2.2 or 2.1, right? There are less scrupulous people in this business, okay? All right, so we'll use Sheeran Farms as an example. We're gonna go make a saved search. So we're gonna click search. We're gonna go to residential search. Hope you don't mind me using your neighborhood. If you prefer, I could go use mine. Okay, so we're gonna go down to subdivision. We're gonna use Sheeran Farms, okay? And notice there's 3 homes that are active or contingent. Let's see if there's any more if I do pending. So there's 5. So there's 5 homes in your neighborhood right now that are active, contingent, or pending, which is cool. But let's say we're just trying to find properties that a client might want to buy. So there's 2 that are active. And we can't forget the coming soon status. If we're setting up a search for a buyer, we want to include coming soons because let's face it, coming soons are selling before they even hit the market these days. Okay, the next step we want to include is our client's budget. So I'm going to skip ahead and cheat and see what the values of these homes are. Oh, wow, one of those tops out at 480. Okay. So let's just say our client's budget is $500,000. So cool, we still have those 2. There's a couple other different ways that we can adjust our search. In fact, I'm going to remove Sheeran Farms. Just for the time being, because you can see that. Let me do something a little bit more reasonable. I'm going to do a budget of $400,000. I'm going to put it in the county. I'm going to put it in Wake County. There we go. Yeah, right. No, there's a fair share. I mean, Wake County is huge. Okay, but I'm just going to listen to what my clients tell me. Let's say my client wants a detached home, single family home, so not a townhome, not a condo. Under property type, I would put in detached, as opposed to, let me show you what the other options are here. We have condo, attached, which is townhome, or manufactured, right? Most people don't want to buy manufactured homes. Most lenders will not buy manufactured homes. So if we want to rule out mobile homes, one of the ways that we can do that is if we go down to construction type, you type in site built. Site built means built on the lot. So what this excludes is manufactured and modular homes. Now, modular homes are great. There should not be a prejudice against them because they are built in pieces in a factory and then assembled on site. And you can have some really amazing modular homes. Whereas a mobile home, a manufactured home, is with wheels on a frame, pulled behind a semi, and dropped on a lot. Those can become permanent property if they're put on a permanent foundation. And then a lender is more likely to make a loan on them, but they are a depreciating asset. Your home is not a depreciating asset, it's site built. It will appreciate over time as long as you maintain it, but a mobile home will not do that. Okay. All right. I may have a client who says, well, I want a minimum of 0.15 acres, right? So they don't want a teeny tiny yard. Maybe they want a 2-car garage. Okay, notice that out of all that criteria, we're down to 36 properties now. Okay, and keep in mind, the more specific you are, the more things are going to drop out. So let's say maybe they need a 4-bedroom too. How much does that drop it down to? That drops it down to 6. And this is all of Wake County. So I'm going to go ahead and click search and see what we have. All right, so here's our 6 properties, but I want to see where they are on the map. So up here under the reports option, you can choose the Google Map option as a report. And this way you can actually see where these properties are on the map. So yeah, Zebulon, Knightdale, almost down to Fuquay-Varina.
I would consider that.
Yeah. Although what's funny is that even there, it may have a Raleigh address.
That's true. Is Fuquay technically Wake County?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Let's see if this, I'm just going to go click on it. I'm going to see if it actually has, no, it is a Fuquay-Varina address. It is a Fuquay Varina address, which is great. But there's quite a few properties around Fuquay that are a Raleigh address, and they ain't anywhere near Raleigh.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you've actually got one up here that's not far from you, off of Lewisburg Road. Yeah, there you go. Now, but I can tell you why this one may have a hard time selling. Look at what's right behind it. You know, a highway. That's not just any highway, that's 401. And 401 is set to expand in the next couple of years. So it's a busy little section of 401.
You can also include that on your map layers, right? I think like, I know there was a way to pull up like the 501 expansion. Or
Yeah.
540, it was the 540 expansion on the bottom. Like there was a way to like layer it so you could see that as well if you were looking for a house.
So you can go directly to, there's a website that you can punch in an address and it'll show you the paths next to it. The other thing I want to point out too is if you sell in Morrisville, Cary, and Northwest Raleigh, this right here is a filter you have to use and have to show your clients.
Yeah.
The airport noise. This is a map you can find through RDU, but you might as well just use it here in the MLS. And the problem is not that your clients should know when you show a property, they're going to hear the airplanes, but you have to disclose it because if they move into the house and especially if they've seen it remotely, right? And they bought a house, they have to know that their property may or may not be in a heavy noise area. I have friends who we just sold a house off of Leesville. They moved into a house even deeper into the red, but it's a part of town they want to be in, right? They like this part of town. And you are like, they're right here in this heart of Leesville. And they don't mind the airplane noise. And a lot of people living in this part of town don't, but they have to know it before they buy and move in there, because the house of theirs that I just sold, you are right dead in the flight path. It's like you can see you can read the call sign from the underside of the plane. It's that close to you because that's where they're coming into land. Anyways, I'll also point out here, let's go back to our criteria and I'm going to clear all. I'm just going to say I can spend as much as 400,000. And now we're going to click on our map search. Actually, let me set it to active and coming soon because that's too many otherwise. All right, I'm gonna click on the map. You can actually draw areas on the map. So if you have a client who says, I'm interested in these certain areas, let me show you a couple of, wow, who the hell listed something in Ecuador? Are you kidding me? And I guarantee you it's not. We have agents who it's like a feather in their cap that they'll add it to our MLS. There was a $5.5 million sale in our MLS in Wilmington, but one of our MLS agents didn't sell it. They just also listed it in our MLS for advertising purposes. All right.
That's something that feels illegal. That's not.
I know. Well, here's the thing, and I can't wait for it. We are headed towards a national MLS. Be ready for it. I would say in the next 5 years. It's just a matter of them hashing out the details. Agents will still obviously need to be licensed in the state that they sell, but I'm looking forward to it because if I have a family member in Asheville say, Robert, what is my house worth? I can actually run an MLS search for them rather than having to do guesstimates from sales from Zillow and Trulia and tax records and stuff. Now I may still refer them to a local agent who knows that market better, but I can do the quick search. All right. So obviously there's lots of active properties that are under $400,000. I can draw an area that I want. So let's say we have a client that knows they want to be in Raleigh, Cary, or Morrisville, and specifically these parts of the area. So I can say
in Morrisville, I told her to hurry up before Apple gets here.
Yeah, there's going to be quite a jump there. You click the draw tool, and then you have a couple options. You can do a radius. You can do a polygon. That's probably what you're going to do most of the time. So let's say I want to include, I'm going to do Apex over to this part of kind of Southwest Raleigh. They'll include Northwest Raleigh. Why not? working our way over
That
here.
wanted like the Panther Creek School District, so I drew them a polygon. I know you can sort by school district, but like I drew them.
So here's the other thing about Panther Creek. You need to understand this. I'm going to tell you both about this, and everybody at home listen to this as well. If somebody wants to be somewhere specifically for a school, just because it says it's districted for it
Oh
here,
yeah, I had to like pull it up.
Panther Creek, I know for certain, is full. So they could live in the
They already
district.
went there. They were
Okay,
moving,
okay.
So
It's important to clarify that, because we're seeing whole neighborhoods that are getting split right down the middle and redistricted. One of my best friends is on the Wake County School Board, and this is one of the things that comes up for him all the time. We have too many students located in tight areas, and there's just not enough schools for them. So there are some kids who, like, if parents don't want a kid sitting in a 40 kid classroom, they may have room for them at Millbrook that they don't at Panther Creek, or vice versa. So it's just one of the things we have to be very careful about. As long as you tell your client that this is what it says it's districted for.
that's why they didn't want to move out of the district.
Yep,
because They already
exactly.
went there. And they're
Yep.
like, I don't want to move because there's no way she's gonna get back to.
I have a listing that's set to close next Monday that is districted for Sycamore Creek. It's an elementary school. It's a highly desirable elementary school, but it has an attendance cap. So I disclosed in the MLS that this is the school that it's districted for, but there is a cap. If this school is important to you or your client, you must contact them directly and see if your child can go there. Because what I disclosed in the MLS is that I don't know where your child's going to go. Because you'd hate for somebody to move in and say, well, you said it was Sycamore Creek, and then my kid couldn't go to Sycamore Creek, and then you've got a problem on your hands. And we don't want problems. So that's why it's always easier to just disclose. All right. So mapping tools, you can figure it out. Mapping tools are great. Y'all are smart. You can use a radius tool. So let's say, oh, I actually want to include Nightdale into my search. There's a little radius. You can include some properties over there. All right. We're going to go run our search. Now, 68 results is a lot, so I'm actually going to hop back to my criteria. I'm going to put a bottom end of 250, and that should reduce us down a little bit. Come on, counting. You'll get there. Okay, brought us down to 55. Well, that's fine. So with this search, we can save the search by choosing Save Search. I'm going to click Save. I'm going to call this, Test Search December class, just so I know to delete that later. And if we choose the contact option, we can actually create a contact or assign it to a contact we've already added. So I'm going to make a new contact. We'll just make this, let's see here, Wilt Chamberlain. There we go. And then you'd put in their email. So we'll do Big Wilt, at AOL.com. He's an old man. Okay, click Save. And now I have created a contact, had my search here, and then I choose Save and Notify. Save and Notify. Oh, right. Hold on a second. Under secondary criteria, sometimes you will have to come in and put in the same information twice. I don't know why it makes us do this. It's dumb. Just do it. This is something I've introduced in the last couple of months. So that's where it is. If for whatever reason it gives you that little error. Okay, I'm going to save my search. I'm going to go to contact. What do we call this? Test search December class. Just got to spell it correctly. All right, assigned to contact. I'll start typing Wilt Chamberlain. There he is. I'm going to click Save and Notify. There we go. And now, once we're in Save and Notify, we can change our settings for our collaboration center. We could also set up the search so it just emails our client, right? So here where it says Collab Center, we can set the search to email them, or we can even turn it off, right? So if our client says, hey, I don't want to look at anything, I'm tired of all the notifications, we can turn it off. But I'm going to go back to the Collab Center, and then I'm going to work on our settings. Right now, this is set to notify our clients of any price changes, new additions to the search, or a new comment from an agent on a property. It is also set currently to notify our client immediately when those things happen. Now, you may have a client who's just testing the waters and they don't want a million emails. So you could set up a recurring email that happens every day, every other day. Like I could do it every 2 days. and have it notify them at 7 p.m., right? Or you can have them do it every week, right? Every week on Friday at 7 p.m. Or on, actually Thursday is not a bad idea because that's when new properties hit the market, right? Okay, but I'm going to leave it set to immediately. And I'm also going to do this. This is just kind of a housekeeping thing. I turn off agent notifications, but I will blind carbon copy myself to the actual email that goes to my client. That way I receive a copy of what they get, but I don't receive a separate email. Okay. Last but not least, here under the subject line, you may want to name it something that your client will recognize and you'll recognize. So I would do Chamberlain home search update from Robert Joins. This would have to be exactly what I would do for my client. So one, they know what it is. If you have a client who's looking in multiple states, you may even want to do Chamberlain NC home search update from Robert Joins, right? Okay, click OK. And then you would send your welcome message. So this would be actually what would trigger the search for your client. Okay, you could leave it as welcome to your collaboration center for buyers, type in your message, you know, welcome to your home search. If you have any questions, let me know, contact me, blah, blah, blah. It's a really powerful tool that helps you search properties. There it is. Okay. All right, for today, I'm actually going to turn this off so I don't just have that rolling around in the background. But let me show you what the collaboration center searches actually look like. So we're going to go look at one of my clients over here. All right, we'll go look at Evelio's. So I'm going to click view site. And this is what his site looks like to him. He's going to have a ton of unsorted properties because he actually made a search himself. Now that is something that's cool too. Your clients can make and save their own searches in here, and it's very powerful in that regard. But you'll notice he has created a situation where he has 217 undecided properties. He's favorited 6, which I can go take a look at here. It's good for me. It lets me know what he's looking for. These properties are all withdrawn or no showings. Hey, there's a couple active ones that we'll need to go check out at some point. That one looks like a stinker. No, he's got an eye for the open door homes. Okay. They do sit there for a while. Oh, undoubtedly, that's why he likes it. 62 days on market, 29 days on market. That one's 14 days on market. It's a little softening, but also those, you know, those companies have been listing for too high. Okay, so this is what the Client Connect site looks like for your clients. And you can always go in and pop in and check on them. And it's good for you to do that because you should see what properties your clients actually like. And if you haven't talked to them in a little while, find one of the properties that's active that they favorited and say, hey, do you want to go see this property? Is this worth us actually going to take a look at? It's a good thing to follow up with them on. Any questions about this? Cool. All right. Do you feel like you've actually learned anything? Okay. I have some people in this class who are like, yeah, duh, I know all this. It's like, great, because it's introductory stuff. I hope that you know some of it. Any questions at home from the peanut gallery?
No, it's pretty clear.
Okay, good. All right. So what I'd like for us to focus on right now is we're going to do a little CMA. So we'll use my property as a subject property. So whenever I'm doing this, I always like to pull up the property that I'm trying to match in the quick search, and you'll see why, right? So that I can always come back and reference it, that I can always come back and look at it. And then for my CMA, I'll click search, choose residential, and I'll start plugging in information and criteria. Let's clear all this information out. Plugging in information and criteria for the subject property. So I know that this house is in Hunter's Knoll. We should always start, is it with an apostrophe? Hold on a second.
What if the agent didn't have the subdivision in?
Then you may not be able to find it. And here's the other thing is that you have agents who'll put subdivision in wrong. I'll show you how we fix that here in a minute. Okay. For a CMA, we want closed, and it doesn't hurt for us to have contingent and pending just to see what things are listing for in the last 6 months as well. Okay. We will want to set the date range back to 6 months, because that's what we're looking for comparable sales. By the way, for my property, you'll notice that it will be one of the comparable sales in this neighborhood. So don't worry about that too much. So in this neighborhood in the last 6 months, there have been 11 sales. It is. Now I'm going to go to the map search so we can actually verify that all these homes are in Hunter's Knoll, because sometimes you'll have subdivisions that have that. There we go. You're not in Hunter's Knoll. So another way that we might want to narrow this down, notice how we have a property way out there, is that we can zoom into the neighborhood and we can use our mapping tool just to, again, confirm, right? So I'm going to keep those in the circle and it'll keep that other one out.
My thinking was, what if they don't put in the subdivision, their properties that don't show up?
So we'll get to that in a minute. So
Okay.
let's look at a scenario. In fact, we can do that right now. So we're saying that, okay, it's not showing up in the subdivision, right? So we'll clear out the subdivision, but we know the neighborhood that it's in. So we're going to go to our map. We're going to click mapping, or we're going to click map search. And we know where our subject property is. So center map and zoom on this address is very powerful. I'm going to put in 9108, Deerland Grove, hit enter, and it's going to zoom in and put a flag on that property. So let's say, like this right here, I know is Hunter's Knoll. This neighborhood here is not, but this is. Typically speaking, comps are going to be within a mile of the home. So I can include other neighborhoods. It's better to start with one subdivision, which is what I'll do today. So I'm going to draw with my polygon tool. I'm going to click here. I'm going to drag my little map down here. And the reason for it is that that neighborhood just over to the west is actually not as nice as the neighborhood that I'm in. And it's amazing that they can be so close and yet so different and disparate in price. In fact, in my neighborhood, homes here at the front of the neighborhood, I bought my house for $430,000. Look at what they're selling for right up against the nature preserve. That's a huge disparity.
Yeah.
That's $145,000 difference. So same neighborhood though. So high tide, what do they say? High tide raises all ships. Those big sales at the back end of the neighborhood really helped me.
Yeah, you want to be the smallest house in the neighborhood, right?
Well, actually, the best thing to be is the middle, to be the median. The smallest is going to have a different price per square foot. Smallest is going to be your
That's true.
bungalow type ranches, and those aren't comps to the big boys. But if you're a median house, then you can use this as a
Hey,
reference
look
point.
at these houses down here.
Exactly. Yeah, if I'm in a single story ranch, I can't compare it to the
Yeah.
5-bedroom behemoths at the back end of the neighborhood. The other thing to keep in mind, ranches have a higher price per square foot than the behemoths. They just do. I know it seems counterintuitive, but the more square footage you get, the less value per square foot you have. Okay. All right. So here's our neighborhood. There's our properties. I'm going to click run search. And there may be other things that I need to do to narrow this down, because 10 homes is great, but all 10 homes are not comps to my property. So let's go back and look at our subject property. I'm going to click my quick search here. So this house is 2940 square feet. So there's a lot of homes that are just going to be too small or maybe too big. So let's go back to our residential search and go to our criteria. I know I'm jumping around a little bit there. So let's say we want to be within plus or minus 300 square feet of the subject property. So if on the low end, I'll put 2,600. On the high end, I'll do 3,200. And so now I have 5 properties. That's great. Let's go back to the search. Notice here on the right-hand side, they all have 4 bedrooms. Yay! That would be another way that I could additionally narrow things down. Notice also they're all built within a couple of years of each other, 1994, 1996. That's great. The subject property is 1994. These are all fantastic indicators. But notice the disparity in price. There I am up at the top, sold at $430. Let me tell you why this sold at $430. Now, if we're doing a CMA, we might try and figure out why the hell did this house not sell at the prices that those other ones did? In this case, it's something that you can't see. You have to be able to suss out. This house, my house, let's see if you can tell in an aerial.
Finishing her acreage.
Good, good. You're very close. That's absolutely part of it. It's absolutely part of it. Okay, so we're going to go to an aerial. And we're going to zoom in on this little house here. What do you notice about the yard of this house compared to the yards of the houses around it?
This is all under trees.
Yeah,
It's right in the middle of the lot.
It-
So maybe that would limit the backyard.
it has no backyard.
Yeah.
The backyard is
'Cause the
no
other ones are
joke.
like on the edge.
My backyard from this table to the property line is about that.
Do you have a front yard? It kind of-
It has a front yard, but it's not like you'd go play in the front yard,
Yeah.
right?
Very attractive.
This house was a house that was designed to be at the front of the neighborhood on a corner, like welcome to Hunter's Knoll. But it's also for somebody who is older and doesn't have small children and those kinds of things. Okay, so that's good. You already were on track of why this might be a little bit different. You also said updates. Well, let's go take a look at the subject property and you tell me if this house has been updated. Okay. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. It's very traditional on the inside. There you go.
I would say no.
Laminate
Floors back then
countertops.
was original too.
Oh yeah. Now they're hardwoods, which is good. It's
Yeah.
great thing to have, but laminate countertops.
The color, okay, the 90s color. floor.
Oh yeah. It's welcome to family matters is what
Yeah.
this house is. I walked in and it was like time travel. Popcorn ceilings. First thing I did, by the way, y'all feel better about this. I replaced all that brass hardware in there with nice, like simple black
That would have made a
bar.
huge difference.
It already makes it look newer and we've just gotten started. The old lady furniture, old chandeliers with little, it's old. Now, the good news about this house is it's been maintained. New water heater, new roof, new HVAC systems, right? Those are good. Not a damn thing else. And when we get to the bathrooms,
That's okay because that's the
Oh,
expensive stuff, right?
yeah, old lady.
I should have property with 3
Carpet.
HVACs.
Carpet in the master bedroom, in the bathroom. Yeah, that's the first thing I replaced. We just had new floors put in about a month
I
ago.
should have a house with 3 HVACs and none of them had been updated.
Oh
And they
boy.
were so old. And I was like, just so you know,
Yeah.
if one HVAC goes out, they're all 3 probably gonna go out. You have to buy 3 HVACs. Are you prepared to buy
So-
3 HVACs?
The other thing that y'all need to know about this property and other properties in this age range in Raleigh. I'm going to start with a question and then I'll give you the answer. This house was built in 1994. What potential products could have been used in this house that would be problematic for resale value?
Probably butylene.
Bingo! Guess what this house has?
Oh, that sucks.
It's got copper fittings and it's never had an insurance claim against it. But that is something I'll have to replace at some point. Now, why my seller thought it was more important to put a glass tile backsplash in versus spend that money on replacing the plumbing, because it's going to cost about 8 to 10 grand to replace all the plumbing in the house. And then I'll have a painter come in and repair all the drywall from where they rip
Is
out the
everything in
walls.
the neighborhood, Wally?
It
I
was
assume 'cause they
originally,
were all built at the same time.
and most of my neighbors have done nothing with theirs, right? So a lot of people have probably been doing. But you have to know. The other thing from this time period that you should know about is brick front exterior. Let's see if I can show it in any of the other pictures. Masonite siding. Masonite siding, which has now been replaced with fiber cement. Fiber cement's a great product. Masonite is the kind that if it got wet, you could put your finger right through it. And every home in this time period had it. So this house has expensive problems and a small yard. And that's what affected the value. Now I put a little bit of work in it and it'll be worth like this $600,000 house. So let's go back to our residential search. We're gonna go back. We want to exclude this low property because that's the one that's our subject property. So let me show you a little trick here. You can select all these homes from this box, or you can select the properties that you'd like to include. And when you click this checked boxes area, it will rule out any that you haven't checked, which is really handy. Because sometimes what you're doing is you're literally sorting through 20 homes and you're like, okay, is this one? Yeah, that's a pretty good comp. Okay, is this one? Yeah, I'll check or uncheck this one, right? Okay. So now from this, what we need to do is to see a quick CMA summary for this neighborhood. So we go to our reports, and one of your options is going to be a CMA summary. And this is really powerful. This is going to help your business. This right here shows you an average sold price per square foot, which is $179.29 per square foot. It shows you the highs and lows, high being 179, low being 168. Shanika, you're an hour late. Okay. All right. You can also see the median sales price per square foot and the median sold price per square foot. And the average. So the average is 487,967, but that's a bit misleading because of the closed sales, we have a variation, we have a difference of, now wait, it says low sales price of 450. Where are they getting that 450 from?
Is that the list price?
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, here you go. Sold price 501. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So your average sold price is 534,500. That's an average based on what we have here. Now, obviously, the one on the high end it's got to have other upgrades, things like that. But so this right here is what you need to be producing for your clients. And then you need to be able to explain it to them. Price per square foot is one of the best ways to figure out the value of a home, period. If you can figure out the average price per square foot and then apply that to your property, you've got your price indicator. Now, from that price per square foot, you may have to make adjustments like doesn't have granite, has a garage, doesn't have a garage. And those are plus or minus $5,000 to $10,000, depending on what the upgrade is. But what we're trying to create for our client is a range. So if I was just based on this, trying to give my client a range, and the average sales price is, 534, 500, I would tell them that it's worth between 530, 540, right? Or 520, 540, somewhere in that range. And then we could suss out a more specific number. But it is important to note that we have a property that was listed at 515, and homes traditionally have been selling in this neighborhood for 50 grand above list price. Look at that. Pay attention to the list price versus the sold price. This was listed for 450, it sold for 501. Listed for 475, sold for 527.5. Listed for 538, sold for 575. So when you have a client, I know it's a lot of number crunching. When you have a client say,
It was just so much over, like everything is selling like that.
and so if you have a client who says, how much do I need to offer? Well, you say over. Well, how much over? Well, homes are selling for between 30 and 50 grand above list price. So there's your answer. If you want to know where the neighborhood is tracking, it's literally right there.
And it might not.
And it might not appraise. Well, my house that I offered 430 on, it appraised for 438. They were listed for 440. They would not have gotten 440. Right. And they originally wanted much more than that. Unfortunately, in my situation, my seller was an absolute nutter butter. There was no lockbox on the house. She had to be present at all the showings. Yeah, there were other reasons why it hurt selling that house. She also wouldn't give my attorney her social security number, nor would she turn over the keys until it had been, she wouldn't even give the attorney the keys until it had been recorded with Wake County. Which, by the way, made my movers wait around in a truck for a long time. That being said, Miracle Movers, fantastic. They're really, really great. I have agents who will say, oh, they're great. Are they cheap? No, nobody that's good is cheap, but they're certainly not the most expensive either. All right. So from this, do we feel like we've learned something? Is this helpful? What can I show?
This is helpful.
On top of this?
Let's say one of those comps was 3-bedroom. Does that?
Oh, yeah, sure. So let's go back to our criteria. So that's actually something that we can do. So I'm going to go back to my MLS default grid. You can see, so these are all 4, 3, 4, 2, 1. This one here actually has 4 full baths, which is a little bit weird, right? It is a lot. So that is something that definitely affects the value. It's also the biggest of these. So truthfully, if I was doing a CMA, I would rule this one out. It's different enough that we wouldn't want to include it. And then that puts our average price somewhere between, 500, 530, right? This one's listed at 515, but if it's sold for 25 grand above, our range might actually be closer to like 520, 540, something like that, right? But these are all 421s. My subject property is a 421, 42.5. And let's just take a look at this to see what updates this one has, like this one compared to the one that we were just looking at. Okay. It's got a brick front. It's got the chair railing throughout, which mine did.
Floors.
Yep, hardwood floors.
Or at least stained floors.
This is very traditional. Very kind of compartmentalized. Okay, not a great grade of flooring in the bathroom. So now,
no carpet.
That's right. But I would actually say, since I've updated the flooring, that now my house has superior flooring. I used a new product that y'all should check out that I'm super tickled. What a weird friggin' layout.
What is that? The bathtub, like an L shape
sticking out. Yeah, I don't like that. So I would also call that's a negative.
Tripping hazard.
Oh, and look at all these, the cabinets are multi-layered.
heights.
One's, oh yeah, this is super weird. So that's a
It's in a corner too, but
that's a problem, right?
Wonder if they were just disabled.
maybe.
Maybe. But even then, if it was custom made to them, that kind of looks like Corian to me.
But it could also be.
It could be
It's kinda
granite.
Shiny,
It could be granite. Well, let's check the MLS. It'll say
hopefully.
countertops.
Yeah, granite.
It says granite.
Interior features, 9-foot ceiling plate.
Granite countertops. Okay, cool. Well, then it's an ugly looking granite. If your granite looks like Corian, that's not good.
Unless they fixed it in like the mid 2000s.
Yeah,
They updated it.
but you've got your stainless steel appliances, and you got the EDAC countertop there. Yeah, very traditional, very compartmentalized. Looks like they still have their popcorn ceilings for the most part.
Kids' names off the wall.
Yeah. So this bathroom's been updated. That's an updated bathroom, but that's like one. Okay, but so you get the idea. And they've got this wonderful screened-in porch. My house does not have that. We'll do that eventually. But there's that. So that's a good little positive, right? All right, those are all good things. And it looks like they've redone the deck. Yeah. So those are things that make it worth, the 527 that they were able to get for that. And that closed in September. That closed 14 days after the one that I bought did. And I think it's got a bigger.
Did you look at this
lot.
house?
No, I didn't look at this house. I was looking for a bargain. That's why I got the one that I got. All right. So where were we going with that? We were talking about the things that made this one great.
Different bedrooms is what he was asking.
Mhm.
Or bathrooms.
Yep. So, and sometimes that's what we have to do. We have to go look at them and actually compare we have to go look at the bones. We have to go look at what's actually in the property when we're coming up with CMA. So when you were talking about the bathrooms, that's why I ruled out that big one, because it had 4 full baths. That's weird. My subject property doesn't have that. Okay. And this is it's a similar sized lot. The other benefit to this one, though, I think is this the one that backs up to Durant? No, it doesn't back up to Durant. It's just middle of the neighborhood. Oh, I know this house. I walked by this house. Okay. All right. Oh, that's another thing that affected this. This was a relocation party. This was owned by a relocation company. So they didn't take any due diligence money. All right. Questions? Complaints? It's a lot to take in. We actually covered a decent amount of material in a little over an hour.
I'd say one thing to remember when doing CMAs is look for basements versus not basements, because somehow I always forget.
Yep, that will always be in your living area below grade.
Yeah.
But you were talking about, so we have to fight bad agents who don't input information correctly. They could have the geotagging wrong if you use the map search like I did. Now, let's say you were in the neighborhood and you couldn't find anything available in the neighborhood. Then what you could do, we'll edit this. We'll just delete this polygon. And you could pick your subject property and do a radius, a simple radius, and see if that brought up any more properties. Run your search and narrow it down that way, if you didn't have any properties in the neighborhood. Another way that you might is you may have a couple of ranch style homes get in there, and a way that you can sort them out is the type of construction. But again, it's only going to be as accurate as the agents who actually input the information. And unfortunately for the open doors and such, they don't put in a lot of information. All right. So I'm going to stop the recording there.